Hi Gemini, welcome to your April 2025 general tarot reading. It's Raina here. I was just like staring at this image and it looks so different, but then I remembered, I have different phones that I record from. So hopefully the audio won't be craptastic because I think something happened with my speaker. I think I got some crumbs in my speaker and it's mucking things up a little bit. So if it isn't the best sound, I apologize. I'll have to check after this recording, but I've already gotten set up, so I'm going to go with it. So this is my second channel, and I'm going to be doing most of the tarot readings on this channel. I did put out a series for the end of March on my main channel, and I think I'm going to always do end of month readings on that channel just to, keep that going with the tarot as well, because that's one of the things that I do for my private readings, and it's important to represent that and show for people that might want that kind of thing. But I can feel more comfortable, like whatever I decide to do on this channel, that I'm not going to be spamming people too much. And of course, if you don't like it, you'll probably I think people who like the tarot, they're going to want something that's more concentrated on that. And of course, some people like both, so it's all good, right? But in any case, here we go with this reading. And I feel like I did your reading already, and I just didn't upload it, but who knows? We'll see. And remember, too, that as the month of April begins, there is going to continue to be two personal planets in retrograde. And one of them is your ruler, Mercury, and the other is Venus. Mercury goes direct first on April 7th, and Venus follows on the 12th, which is the same day as the full moon. Oh, here, maybe that's a timing card, in Libra. And this is your fifth house, Gemini, so there might be some situation involving somebody you're dating, or the issue of love can come up for you in a big way. Whether it is admitting your love, here, you see my glasses, admitting your love for someone, or truly being able to let go in some cases. Both of these things are possible. So the Heart of the Matter, the reason I said that about the retrogrades is the first card I got was the High Priestess reversed. And so I was thinking of retrogrades and how things sometimes feel upside down. The High Priestess as a card, I'm just going to look at it upright. It looks like she's on her laptop. Is about, and you see that they make it into like a headband, but it's really like this. I don't know if anybody knows. I know that those are pomegranates on the, whatever, the curtain behind her, and that is a symbol, I think, of fertility or something like that. But the adornment at the top of her head is probably supposed to suggest the crown chakra, or, the seventh chakra, because this card is about connecting with your higher self. And, for Gemini people, and for somebody like me with the moon in Virgo, which is also ruled by Mercury, the idea of the intuition versus the intellect may be something that's hard to really buy into or even feel, because the mind is so active. And sometimes the mind can play tricks on us, and don't believe everything that you think like it's the gospel, because you might find out that you are operating, with a program that is just automatically going to spit back to you certain things that you have already believed or experienced that have no basis in reality, because just because something happened before doesn't mean it's going to happen again. That's what prejudice is. Believing that someone or something is all going to be the same because you had a bad experience with that. So it's also, I would say, in the context of our daily life with the High Priestess in reverse, this is about ignoring your small, still voice inside. And sometimes that isn't anything to do with an undeveloped intuition. It can be being in denial. Maybe you know exactly what is really going on, but you're hoping it's not going to continue to happen. So, yeah, I mean, you could say it's like playing dumb spiritually or intuitively, being in denial, or or kind of scorning that side of life, being more in the world and less in that spiritual consciousness. In the past position, we have the Knight of Swords. This can mean that there's been a lot of change in your life, and maybe things are very, going very quickly, maybe too quickly in some cases. And a lot of change is on its way. And sometimes that can leave people kind of lagging behind and being, resistant to change. I think that, that sounds almost ludicrous to talk about a Gemini that way, but actually there are some Geminis. You might have Mars in Taurus. You might have inner planets in Taurus, which is a fixed sign, more set or stuck in its ways, or Cancer, another on the other side, another adjacent sign. And it's more emotionally, in some cases, dependent or resistant to change, from an emotional standpoint, a sentimental standpoint. And so it's like, to me, and this can also be for your work situation. So there can even be someone who, like if you're a Gemini who, let's say you work in a legal office, because the Knight of Swords can be like a lawyer or something like that. And if you work in that kind of environment, it could be a lawyer or an educator, something like that. And there's somebody, and especially if they're on the younger side, they can blindside you. Is it blind? Yeah, blindside. They can kind of come fast on the scene and dazzle maybe your employer or something like that, and you may be feeling like you are a sitting duck, or maybe you don't even realize that you are a sitting duck. You might actually be. But I also think of like getting served divorce papers or the equivalent. If it's not, because sometimes that this could be like a lawyer or something, this Knight of Swords, or that the person is acting very quickly and you don't even have time to think about it. And you're like, whoa, what just happened here? I never planned that this was going to happen. I thought everything was fine. So, it can be very like discombobulating, let's put it that way. The higher message is the Page of Wands, which is, this is a card of good news. Pages can be messages, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury, the messenger. So messages or communication are really what you're all about. And this card says to me that it's all good, that this is actually good news. Whatever is coming in, whatever it is that you might be trying to, maybe you never saw it coming, it can still work in your favor. And it's very hard, it's a fine line between positive thinking and spiritual bypassing, to be honest with you, or psychological bypassing, because, we do want to acknowledge when something does suck. I do believe that, and not just be like, oh, well, it's all good. But in this case, it could very well be. It's kind of like when we say you dodged a bullet, because you may be like, whoa, this isn't what I bargained for. But then maybe a year from now, you look and you say, oh my gosh, this is like, I can't even imagine still being in that situation. And it's really hard for people to believe that until they have experienced it. So I can't convince you of that, and this isn't like to fearmonger and say, oh, you're going to lose your job, or you're going to be, your wife or husband is going to walk out on you. It could be something, first of all, this is a general reading. But even if that happened, it wouldn't be the end of the world by a long stretch. It might even be the beginning of a new life. It would be the beginning of a new life that you may look back and say, this is so much better than what I had, and I didn't even realize it. And I think that's what the High Priestess in reverse can be too, is that you weren't even aware of what was happening, how unhappy you were, or any of that. Well, crosses use the Eight of Pentacles, and this is a card of the person who I think has a lot of ambition, a lot of desire to. I look at this card. And I'm not saying that this is what the official definition of it is, but how I look at it as is Type A personality or perfectionist. It is a card of somebody doing their best, but it's in the challenge position. And when I interpret it that way, I interpret it as trying too hard. So something is happening, and the reason that you're trying too hard is you're not tapped into your spiritual self. That is the higher self that can see the bigger picture. So you might be like too into the material side. The Eight of Pentacles can be very good a financial card, but maybe it hooks people in too much to that side of life. And the material side is just one side of life. And not surprisingly, the card that's coming in is the Temperance card, which is kind of learning to balance the material and the spiritual. 1 foot on water and 1 foot on land. The Earth Angel, the person with wings, but also is wearing the clothes of a human being. It has the appearance of a human being. And this is one of those things where learning how to navigate this world where you're not just approaching it from a material perspective, but seeing that you are a spiritual being having a human experience, meaning that everything that is happening to you on the material level, like for instance with your job, if something negative happens to you that you did not want to happen that's connected to your job, is that really the end of the world? What are we here for? Are we here to, just keep our bodies alive and then we die? Is that really, does that sound like very important to just like live on that survival level where you're just like doing whatever it takes to have enough food, have shelter? I mean, yeah, we need that, but that's not the ultimate level of existence. So we do have to kind of balance it out with our spiritual goals. And, the material goals can be all of your professional ones. And that's not to say that you should abandon any material goals, but it's putting it in the proper perspective so that when something has a snag, it doesn't work out the way you've wanted, all is not lost. You can see that the timing isn't right or you're not really aligned with it. It doesn't mean that it's not for you, but you may not be in this place where you feel like going for it. For whatever reason. Maybe your consciousness needs time to catch up. And the outcome is the Moon card. And I would say, two things. First of all, that full moon on April 12th, which is going to be obviously in the month of April in the 5th house of love and creativity, but not just because of love, but also creativity. The 5th house can be the business that you own. So you could very well have some kind of idea downloaded to you about the perfect business for you. And that could be something that you can pursue this year. Things can happen in a heartbeat. I'm speaking from experience where, one minute you never dreamed that you would think something, and then you thought it in terms of an idea that changed your life. And these kinds of things, when I think back myself, I really feel that it was divinely guided. I don't think I was just like randomly thinking about something. There were like other things that were happening. A significant event had recently happened that really, I think factored a lot into it. And the bottom line is that this can create this, and the Page of Wands can be a passion project. And you never know when that inspiration will strike. So it's basically about getting out of your own way. The High Priestess in reverse is about the person who is scorning their wisdom. Also, when the Hermit is reversed, it can be a similar thing. They're scorning, and they might just be because they're so used to something that is different than that. Like you have an idea that is completely different than the ideas that you typically have, and so you don't really give it much respect. And, you have to think about that. Like maybe, just maybe, this thing is really for me. Why am I acting like it's not? Like, what is up with that? And you never know what can happen. The Moon card is also about embracing creativity. In addition to the intuitive side of things that it represents. But it also can be a timing card of when everything is going to kind of start kicking in for you. So that's what I have for you, Gemini. I hope that this resonated. If you would like an astrology reading, a tarot card reading, or a combination thereof, you can find out all of my package deals and individual readings that I offer. Thanks for watching. Bye.